Well, hey team, welcome back to the channel, or what is left of it, I guess. I have set up a card table here in the living room, and you can't see it because of the positioning of the cameras, but I'm surrounded by tubs and boxes and crates and all kinds of things, and there's barely room for me to maneuver around the table to reposition the cameras, so this will be kind of interesting. So today, I'm shooting from the hip. I'm trying to do the best I can with what I have available, and I'm going to try to play a game of Sword Weirdos, but let's call it Mordheim Weirdos because this is going to be a small, fast, Mordheim-esque skirmish game using the inexpensive, compact Sword Weirdos rules to drive the gameplay. So it's a Mordheim-looking type game, but the engine is all Sword Weirdos. Which is fine, I think, because not everybody has the space to set up a 4x4 board or even a 3x3 board with a lot of terrain, and maybe they don't have the time to play a bigger game. So this is going to be a very small game set here in an obscure area of some comet-struck city, and it's going to be sort of a duel of honor between the witch hunters and the possessed. So they have decided they're going to meet here. This is going to be their field of battle. So I suppose it's like a rumble in Brighton. There's going to be two rival gangs. They're going to fight over this plinth here, right here in the middle. The sacred plinth. And the main victory condition is whichever gang has the most members within one half stick of the plinth at the end of turn 4 will be declared the winner. And that should force most of the combatants to charge forward toward the center and start duking it out right away. Also, the game will end if either gang becomes broken, which means either their leader is out of action or they are below half strength. I think you're supposed to make a will roll to avoid becoming broken, but we'll say it's automatic in this case, since this is a ceremonial rumble with special protocols and such. So both of these gangs are 79 points, which is kind of an odd number, but that's where it ended up, which means they will get 2 maneuver points per turn. So Space Weirdos has command points, Sword Weirdos has maneuver points, which can be spent during the turn on universal maneuvers like Hasten, but mostly it's spent on weapon abilities. So most of the weapons these guys are armed with have some sort of special ability, and depending on conditions, they may be able to spend a command point and sort of activate that power, and I'll explain that when it comes up. So these are our witch hunters here, and I'll just quickly go from left to right and explain who they are. So on the left is the leader, Jonas Lang. He is a swashbuckler and a hunter. He's armed with a pistolet and a fencing sword. And his leader trait is Mage Killer, which means he gets a +1 die type when attacking spellcasters, such as the Magister of the Cult of Possessed. And next to Jonas Lang is Little Man, who's a bit shorter than the rest of his compadres, and that's not from malnutrition, that's from scale creep, because he's an older figure than some of these other guys. Little Man is an archer. He has a bow and a dagger, so he can shoot arrows. To the right of Little Man is Father Dogma, who is a healer. He has a holy symbol, which has the repel power, plus a mace, because hammers are not in the healer weapons list, so it's a mace. He also has the spell Holy Aura. Now, normally spellcasters aren't allowed on a witch hunter team, but they make an exception for healers. To the right of Father Dogma is Bartholomew, and he is a wretch with an articulated club, so he only cost 8 points. He's cheap. And finally, to the right of Bartholomew is Fairweather, who is a fighter with a slashing sword and a gory trophy. I don't know if you can see it or not, but he has a severed head in one hand that he can hold up and taunt his enemies with. So that is his gory trophy. And here's the Cult of the Possessed. Again, starting on the left, we have the Magister. He is a spell sword, sort of a fighter who can use first level spells, and also a commander. He has an axe. He has the spells Magic Missile and Smite. And he's a sorcerer, so spell actions cost 1 action instead of 2, but it can still only cast 1 per turn. This happy guy right here is the Possessed. He is a monster. And because he's kind of scary, all enemy models within 1 stick have a -1 penalty to their will rolls. And he attacks with claws, and he has the pounce maneuver. And then these 3 guys here are regular old brethren. They're all fighters. Brother Spear has a spear. Brother Blade has a slashing sword. And Brother Mace has a mace and an axe, so he can actually attack twice if he wants to. So if a model attacks more than once in a round, the second attack is weaker. Okay, I'm just going to kind of quickly set these guys up sort of at random, I guess. So it's hard to see from the main camera, but the witch hunters are back here on this side of the board. And the possessed are kind of over here on this side of the board. And now it's going to be a bloody race to the plinth. And unless I forget and mix it up, the possessed will be using red dice and red tokens, and gold tokens and yellow dice for the witch hunters. And if you're wondering why there is a green Mayor McCheese token in the middle, that's because this camera can't really focus on this plain blue background. It has a hard time. So this Mayor McCheese is to give the camera something to focus on and hopefully keep the dice rolls and stuff in focus. So we'll see if that works. Because the game room was flooded out, as I probably mentioned in other videos, and I can't find the rest of my dice trays. They're here somewhere, but I don't know where they are. So we're just winging it with what we have available. All right. Rolling for initiative. And it looks like 8-3, so the possessed will get initiative. And I think they're going to move first. So the possessed are fanatics, that's their warband trait, and as such, I don't mind moving them recklessly, and that should speed up gameplay. So the monster here, the possessed cultist, is just going to barrel toward the plinth and stake his claim. So there he is, and if anybody wants it, they're going to have to go through him. So he moved twice. Next, Little Man the Archer is going to climb the ruined building to get up to this rooftop. The climbing rules are a little bit open to interpretation, but I'm going to say that since the distance was about twice his height, we're going to say that that's 2 movement tokens. So he moved twice to climb up to the top of that building. So that's Little Man. And he has 1 action left, so he could shoot, actually. So I was going to try to have Little Man shoot at the abomination there, but I can't quite see the head or torso, just the hands. So technically he's out of line of sight, so Little Man will not shoot at him this turn. Okay, next, Brother Blade right there is going to barrel this way. He's going to move 2 sticks and get behind that building. So that gives him 2 movement tokens. Fairweather right here is a competent man-at-arms, plus he also has a severed head to taunt people with. So he's going to move toward the plinth, because why not? So that puts him right about there. He couldn't quite get to the monstrosity, otherwise he might have fought it. It was just a little bit short. Okay, Brother Mace right there is starting a little further back than some of the other cultists. So he's going to rectify that and move forward. 2 sticks is as fast as he can move, so that's what he's going to move. Gets him right about there. 2 sticks for the movement. Bartholomew the Wretch can also move 2 sticks, unless he uses the hasten maneuver. So he's going to move 2 sticks, and maybe he will. Maybe we'll spend a command point to let him move 3. Why not? What the heck? We'll let Bartholomew run like the wind. So that puts him roughly right about there. And he's going to draw some fire. That's his purpose in life. So Bartholomew moved 3. So the Magister right here has a couple of spells, one of them being Magic Missile. And I think what he's going to do is going to move over this way and fire a Magic Missile up here at Little Man, who's on the 2nd story. So, because the Magister's leader trait is Sorcerer, he only has to spend 1 action to cast a spell, though he can still only cast 1 spell per activation. And Magic Missile always hits, so basically target 1 enemy model within line of sight and roll on the ranged attack table. So it's an auto hit. Rolling on the ranged attack table. 2! That's terrible. Return fire. If able, the defending model may immediately take a ranged attack action against the attacker. So Little Man up here is shooting the Magister right here, and if he manages to kill him, I guess that's the game. So Little Man is shooting with 2d8, though he moved twice, so that's going to take it down to 2d6. And the Magister is defending with 2d8. So Little Man got a 9, and the Magister got a 10, so the arrow whizzes by the Magister's head, but doesn't hit him. And I think the Magister has 1 more action, so he's going to move maybe over this way, like so. So the Magister activated. Now who's left? So I think there's 2 more Witch Hunters and 1 more Cultist still to activate in turn 1. Father Dogma has a mace and a holy symbol, and he's going to move kind of this way. So he moved twice. Brother Spear right here is going to spend a command point to hasten, so he can move 3 sticks and get into base to base with Fairweather. So he's going to not attack Fairweather this turn, but kind of lock him into base-to-base combat. And finally, Witch Hunter Jonas Lang right here is going to move up and try to shoot somebody. His pistol only shoots 1 stick, so it's kind of short range. So I think he's going to go right here and shoot at the Magister. Try to bring this game to a swift conclusion. So Jonas is shooting at a penalty because he moved twice, but he gets a +1 die type to attack spellcasters, so it all evens out, so he's fighting with 2d8s. And the Magister has a defense of 2d8, but he moved twice, so it'll be 2d10. So 2d8s versus 2d10, as far as I can tell. Okay, here we go. So Jonas got a 9, the Magister got a 12, so the shot misses. And Jonas gets a reload token. It would be 2 reload tokens, but Jonas is a swashbuckler, so he can reload his pistol quickly. Alright, so that is the end of turn 1, I think, and the battle for the plinth is heating up. Let's see what happens in turn 2. So let's see, the Witch Hunters got a 7, the Possessed got a 3, so the Witch Hunters activate first. I think Jonas is going to reload his pistol, shoot at the Magister over there. Neither of them have movement tokens now, so it should be a cleaner shot. So this time Jonas is shooting with 2d10 because he's shooting a spellcaster, and the Magister is defending with 2d8. And Jonas got a 9 versus a 6, so he hit. And his pistol, because it has piercing +2, gets to roll +2 on the under attack table. So this could be really big or nothing at all. So 4, 5, 6, the attacker must move the defending model 1 stick, place the defending model down. So the Magister moves back 1 stick and falls down. But that could have been a lot worse. Could have got a pistol shot right between the eyes. So Jonas Lang gets another reload token, and I think what he's going to do is kind of move back this way just a little bit, so he's not quite so out in the open. So there's Jonas Lang right there. He has to remember that he's the leader, so he has to stay alive, even though he wants to be in the thick of things, slashing and shooting and such. Okay, so next the Magister is going to activate. He's going to stand up. He's going to move a little bit, kind of over this way. And from here, I think you can see way over here at Father Dogma, the healer, who's on the other side of this barrier. And since Magic Missile isn't really affected by cover, I don't think, the Magister is just going to shoot Father Dogma with a Magic Missile. So that would be his 3 activations. So the Magister just rolls on the ranged attack table and gets a 5. He's terrible at this. Take cover. If able, the defending model may move 1 stick. So Father Dogma is going to move kind of over this way. That'll be his 1 stick, so that puts him right about here. Alright, who should activate next? So I think the Possessed Monstrosity is going to move 1 stick and say hello to Bartholomew. And he can attack twice with his claws, though the second attack will be at -1 die type. So the first attack is 2d10 versus Bartholomew's defense of 2d6, and the second attack is 2d8 versus Bartholomew's defense of 2d6. So this may be the end of Bartholomew. First claw attack is a 10 versus a 4, so that's more than double. So the monstrosity rolls on the under attack table and adds 1, 7, 8. Staggered. Poor Bartholomew is staggered, which I guess is understandable. So the possessed monstrosity rolls with d8s, and Bartholomew is defending with d4s because he's staggered. So it is a 13 versus a 5. So that's more than double. And the result is a 4. Defensive strike. If able, the defending model may immediately make a melee attack against the attacker at a -1 die type. Which would be great, but I think Bartholomew has to become unstaggered before he can do anything. So he can't attack right now. At least that's how I understand it. But he's not dead. He wasn't killed by that vicious attack, so that's something. So I think moved by Bartholomew's plight, Father Dogma is going to help him out. So Father Dogma is going to move over here and get into base-to-base with Bartholomew. And he can use an interact action, that's 2 actions, to make an unopposed will roll to try to unstagger Bartholomew. So let's see if we can do that. So Father Dogma is going to roll 2d10 versus the universe's 2d6 and see if he can help out Bartholomew. And he got a 15 versus a 9, so he does. Bartholomew becomes unstaggered. Way to go. So that's all Father Dogma can do right now. On the Cult of the Possessed turn, Brother Mace is going to charge in, I guess he can get there in 1 stick, and attack Father Dogma. And because he only used 1 stick of movement, he can attack twice if he wants to. So Brother Mace has a mace and an axe. And the mace has Bellringer as a maneuver, so if Brother Mace hits, he can just spend a maneuver point and stagger Father Dogma. So maybe he'll do that. We'll see what happens. So attacking with 2d8 versus defense of 2d6. Defense is 10 versus an attack of 8, so that's a miss. Now, Brother Mace will attack with his axe. He's got a weapon in each hand. This time he gets a 12 versus a 10, so he hits. Rolling on the attack table. 10, that's pretty good. I think he killed the healer. Yes, a 10 is out of action, so Brother Mace killed Father Dogma. Oh. And in the process of removing Father Dogma from the battlefield, I clipped one of the lights and dropped him, and now his mace broke off. And I think he's a conversion anyway. I think this is a 40k Imperial Preacher, and that mace is an addition, but now it needs to be reglued. So it's a casualty on top of a casualty. So Brother Mace scores first blood, and he gets an activation token. And now the Witch Hunters are down to just 4 members. So next, I think Little Man here is going to kind of just move this way to give him as clear a shot as possible on Brother Mace. Though Brother Mace is still going to get some cover from Bartholomew here, who's kind of in the way. So Little Man is shooting with 2d8, and Brother Mace is defending with 2d8 because he has some cover. And Little Man got a 14 versus a 7, so that's double. So Little Man rolls on the shooting attack table, adds 1, 7. Down. It's not a fatal wound, but it did knock Brother Mace down. And Little Man gets a reload token. Okay, next, Bartholomew right here is a little surprised to be alive at this point, but he's going to use his articulated club and attack the monstrosity before him. And because he's a wretch fighting with a club, he gets to roll with a +2, which is cool. So 2d6 plus 2 versus the monster's defense of 2d8. So 9, 10, 11 versus 10. So because of the inherent wretch proficiency with an articulated club, Bartholomew hits the possessed monster. And maybe he'll spend a command point to stagger the brute. Why not? So he will use his bell ringer ability and stagger the possessed monster, like so. So because the monster is staggered, Bartholomew could actually move away, but I think he'll stay where he is and see if his luck holds. If he gets initiative next turn, he could strike the monster before it gets unstaggered. So that would give him a buff. Okay, so who's left to activate? I think we'd have one cultist over here. And I think he's just going to go back here and attack Jonas Lang. So that's Brother Blade. He normally attacks with 2d8, but now he gets 2d10 because he charged, and Jonas is defending with 2d8. Okay, Jonas defended with a 7 versus an 18, so that's a double from the cultist. So he rolls on the under attack table. 2. So 2 is counterstrike, so if able, Jonas can make a melee attack against the attacker, and he can, so he will. So Jonas is attacking with 2d8, and the cultist is defending with 2d6. And Jonas got a 13 versus a 3, so that's triple. Plus, I believe his weapon has piercing, which means he's rolling on the under attack table with a total of +3, so that's pretty good. As long as he doesn't screw it up. 9, 10, 11, 12. So that cultist is really dead. He charged Jonas Lang, but got pierced by the fencing sword. Way to go, Jonas. And if you can see way over here, there's 2 more combatants that haven't activated yet. So Fairweather is going to attack. So Fairweather fights with 2d10. He's got a might of 2d10. Plus he gets to reroll 1s because of his sword. And the cultist is defending with 2d6. And Bartholomew got a 15 versus a 9. 9 is down and staggered, so this guy is down and staggered. And I believe that's everybody to activate this turn, so we'll go into turn 3. Rolling for initiative. 12 versus 5, so I guess the Witch Hunters are going first. So that means Bartholomew is going to attack the possessed cultist while it is still staggered. So Bartholomew will swing his articulated club. He's rolling 2d6 plus 2 versus 2d6 for the monster because it's staggered. So, advantage Bartholomew. And Bartholomew got an 8, 9, 10 versus a 6. So he gets to roll on the under attack table. 8. Well, 8 is staggered, and a second staggered token is out of action. So the monstrosity is out of action due to the vicious clubbing from Bartholomew. So way to go, Bartholomew. So that's the second casualty for the cultists, So one more cultist fatality, and that's the game. So with that in mind, the Magister right here is going to shoot over here at Fairweather, so Fairweather doesn't just dispatch this cultist that's lying on the ground down and staggered. So it's an automatic hit. I just roll on the ranged attack table, and I get a 10, and that is death, out of action. So the Magister here shot over here and killed Fairweather. Fairweather was getting ready to give this cultist down here the coup de grace, but then a magic missile flies out of nowhere and takes his head off. So that's the end of Fairweather. 2 and 2 now in terms of casualties. Next, the Magister should probably move and try to tie up Jonas Lang so he doesn't get feisty and kill somebody. So Magister moves over here, locks Jonas in combat. He can't attack right now, but I didn't want Jonas to just kind of run over here and attack that staggered cultist, so he's going to make a sacrifice play and lock Jonas in combat himself. So Magister moved twice. And next, I think Little Man right here is just going to move over this way. And he's going to shoot at this cultist down here on the ground who is down and staggered. But first, Little Man has to get rid of his reload token, which he does. And then he's going to take one shot down at this cultist down here who is down and staggered and see if he can dispatch him, which would be the game. So Little Man is shooting with 2d8. Cultist is defending with 2d4 because he's staggered. Little Man got a 10 versus a 6, so he just rolls on the ranged attack table. This could be the game. 9. Well, it is a game. Down and staggered, but a second staggered token takes you out of action. So the staggered cultist is staggered once again by an arrow, and that takes him out of play. So that is the game. The cultists have lost 3 adherents, which means it's a witch hunter victory. Now Jonas Lang and the Magister are currently locked in combat, and I did let Jonas roll for his attacks just to see the result. However, he missed both times with his fencing sword, so these 2 mortal enemies are still duking it out, probably until the end of time. Okay gang, that's a wrap on today's game of Mordheim Weirdos. That is to say, a Mordheim-esque skirmish game, a small-scale one, using the Sword Weirdos rules to drive the gameplay. I think it worked out pretty well, but let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks very much for stopping by today. Wherever you are, I hope the gremlins are under control. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.